Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Phil. Good to see you.
So this modern
straight into the slides, Phil, which is brilliant. Fantastic. Let's get cracking with the slides.
Yeah, so obviously it's been quite a torrid time for us all, but I guess what I wanted to try and cover today was all the things we're doing to try and keep people safe and secure and confident using public transport through COVID-19, but then really move on to all the sorts of services that we can offer to businesses, because we're very experienced at trying to work with businesses to basically deliver whatever they need to get their employees into work. And there's a whole range of things we do to try and do that. So I'm happy to take any questions at the end. But here's just a quick slide on how we've adapted during the crisis. So we had to very quickly go into deep clean mode. So each of our vehicles, when they came back to the depot every night, had to, well, it was basically put off the road until it had an enhanced deep clean. We had to run our buses at initially at 25% of normal capacity, but at the moment we're down to about between 45 and 60, depending on composition of bubbles. So, the fact we're not overloading the buses is a really important bit on confidence building as well. We've developed this new tool, Busy Bus Checker. So if you go onto our website, you can see based on historical information which buses are busy and which ones are not. That's for people who are a bit nervous going out onto the busier buses. We've had to put in protective screens because we don't ordinarily have protective screens for drivers because we don't need them in Oxford, luckily, other than in very isolated occasions. We now have to have a protective screen, a barrier between the drivers and the customers too. Face coverings obviously are mandatory, which has been quite a contentious point because some people don't want to wear them, but our drivers have a reminder role rather than an enforcement role. So there are some people getting rather angry that our drivers aren't enforcing that, but the enforcement, like anything else, lies with the police. All we do is remind people that they should wear one. And our contactless limit's been increased to £45 as it has everywhere else, but that's helped people pay for their tickets as well. And we strongly encourage the use of contactless. We never stop taking cash, unlike some other operators nationally. And we now have something called free flow, which is a tap on, tap off option. So all of our buses do have the ability to tap on and tap off with back capping in the back office, like you get in Oyster in London. So all those have been good things we've done during COVID. This was quite an interesting thing as well when we're trying to build confidence. Public transport is one of the cleanest places to be during the coronavirus investigation has found. Channel 4's dispatches, it doesn't normally pull any punches. Checked public transport and found that trains and buses were more hygienic than cafes, shops and hotels. So the fact that the government had told people to avoid public transport has done a lot of damage, but it was based on no evidence. So the evidence that is there is basically saying that they're cleaner than these other places. So moving on to some of the things that we are looking at doing in terms of working with the B4 community going forward. We obviously have city sightseeing in our family of companies that I manage. And what we are wanting to do more and more is including open top tours in team building events and business events where people are bringing people together, because we believe it is a fun way to entertain guests. We can provide guide, we can use a script to the client satisfaction, etc. So any way where you're trying to get people out, into the open in a very safe open air environment, we're looking to allow businesses to include those in its team building activity. So obviously with it being open air, it minimises the virus concerns. You can do it in all weathers. We've got covered bits at the front, so you can have a mix of people sitting upstairs, downstairs, etc. And happy to work with an event planner to arrange transport to and from a venue as part of a broader range of experience. So when we've done things like business in Oxford, people have asked us for this in the past, but we haven't really gone big style with it. So that's why we're now happy to offer these as a bespoke service. Obviously, you'll have heard lots of talk as well about regrowing the greener economy. So Oxford is very big on bus. It's been a long time that between 55 and 65% of visitors have reached the city centre by bus, whether that be local bus, park and ride bus, or interurban bus. We carried nearly 18 million passengers in the last financial year, pre-COVID, so that's a lot of journeys. Road speeds continue to be a challenge. And people often say, well, you know, if people moved onto the bus, could you cope? And the answer is not if everybody did, quite honestly. But if we are, you know, looking to offer the best service we can, if we could increase the average bus speed by just 10%, we could afford to pay for the whole fleet of electric buses. Because basically for every 1% of revenue you, or for every 1% you speed the buses up, you get extra 1% in revenue because more people use you. And because we've calculated we need to get 10% more revenue to pay for the electric buses. You know, that's our current challenge is we are shortlisted for electric bus city with government funding, but we can't just put the electric buses in the same traffic as the diesel buses. So we do need to speed the buses up by 10%, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's why we're saying to employers really that they need to help us and try and play their part by incentivizing staff to travel to work. We can manage them, you know, give them the tools to make it easy for people to get their tickets and travel with us, and we can give discounts on passes. That then, if the business wishes to add more, we can manage that for them as well. And there's all sorts of options, whether you want to pay up front or on a monthly invoice. All of that's fine. We have staff bus pass options as well. So we have a service desk here at Oxford Bus Company who's available to either on the telephone or by email to take orders and then put them out in the post from our Oxford head office. We have a self-service portal where a partner organisation can be given logins, etc., and can place orders through the portal. And obviously we would then invoice that later, and that's obviously done through the post. Or actually, staff can self-service as well, where staff order and pay for passes themselves via our website. We can either put a discount code in, which can be controlled based on the email address to the company, and we can then invoice the company afterwards. And again, that can be any level of discount that the company wishes to provide. So it's a portal that's very easy to use. We can also provide tailored travel solutions. So here's some images of some of our latest services, buses that we use on the airline, bottom right, and demand responsive service that we ran up till June this year. That's one of the vehicles there. We've still got those in our fleet, so we can provide high quality minibuses and luxury coaches, double-decker buses, whatever you need really to shift between 10 and 100 people. You know, another service that we're just starting to offer is where people are running events in Oxford, and perhaps people come in dribs and drabs and want to make their way up to Oxford on their own, but might want to go back as a group on a coach and vice versa. They might want to be picked up as a group and then go back in dribs and drabs. We can now offer that service to clients that wish to do that. So whatever people need, we can do. Another thing that we're very proud of locally here in Oxford is supporting worthy local causes, and the centrepiece of that at the moment is our Brand the Bus competition, which we now do annually. It's open at the moment, actually. We're inviting competitions or entries until the 20th of December. We've partnered with BBC Radio Oxford this year, actually, so every person that enters goes onto the radio and explains why their good cause is worthy of having a bus in their overall livery. And we obviously give the bus, which is commercially valued over 100k a year. So that's our contribution to the charity. And you'll see in this picture here, we've got the last two winners, which was Girl Guiding in Oxfordshire and Home Start Oxfordshire. So who knows who the judges will select this year, but that will be taking place in January, and we'll see it on the roads next year. Another thing we're doing more of with our city sightseeing arm is bringing visitors to the city. Everyone was disappointed that the Visitor Information Centre was closed recently as a result of COVID, but we've now opened our own Visitor Information Point. So our high street travel shop has now been converted to a Visitor Information Point. We can't call it a Visitor Information Centre because there's to call yourself that means you have to do certain things. So it is a Visitor Information Point. So that is a one-stop shop for tourist information and tickets and services in the absence of anything else. So anyone that wishes to sell tickets or wants to attract people to their attraction, we can help them out through that as well. And we already act as an agent for many, quite a lot of third-party operators, and we're keen to expand that range, particularly around attractions and accommodation providers. But we have a number of long-standing successful partnerships, and we're keen to build more, as I said right at the very beginning. But our partnership with Brookes University is a centrepiece that we've had for many years. It started way back in 2009, over 10 years ago now, to provide services between their halls of residence and their campus sites at Wheatley, Harcourt Hill and Headington. It was about 11 vehicles when we took it over in 2009. It then went up to 20 because we kept expanding the services in partnership. We operate extra services for open days, exams and other special events. And we actually deal with all the ticketing as well. So it's been smart card based for many a year, but this year it's now actually based on an app. And we're looking actually to move to this tap on, tap off approach as well, so we can better track who's making what journeys. And again, it's really been a really strong partnership, is whatever needs Brookes has had for its students and whatever it needed to deliver in terms of graduated travel rights, etc. We've been able to do that for them, and we continue to innovate each year. So that partnership really has gone from strength to strength over the last 11 years. Blenheim Palace, we've got a very strong partnership with them as well. It's a different partnership because it's mainly centred around major events. Now, unfortunately, the Christmas Light Trail this year was delayed, and because of the nature of it, we're not doing it this year. But up till this year, we were doing park and ride from the edge of Oxford Airport for Blenheim. And we can do park and ride for bespoke events for folks if they wish to do that. So that's a service that we offer. And again, ticketing can be done either on the bus, or it can be done in advance through web purchase, and there's ways we can share and distribute the revenue, etc., depending on how busy it is. Another successful one that was developed recently was the Science Transit Shuttle, which runs between Oxford City, well, it's two routes actually. There's one that runs from Wytham through Oxford City Centre to the JR, and there's one that goes from the city centre down to Harwell. This actually was a service that was envisaged back in 2016, but initially a lower cost option was selected to go with what we called a closed door operator, which means it isn't available to the general public. And that actually held back its growth. So we managed to persuade Oxford University and the STFC at Harwell to convert it into a local bus from summer of 2019. And I'm pleased to say that basically it saved them 50% of the cost that they paid previously, it says there. And it's now operating as a public service, and we've managed to accommodate a certain level of free passes and people who pay the normal fare, etc. And we've got a bespoke app-based ticketing offer, everything you would expect of a bus service and more. And I'm pleased to say that patronage on this service has doubled since we started it back in the summer of 2019. So it's been a really strong partnership. It's still in its infancy, but it's basically delivered what University of Oxford and Harwell wanted to do. And pre-COVID, it was growing and growing. Unfortunately, now obviously the patronage has gone down since COVID hit, but it's still going from strength to strength, and we're obviously aiming to get that back to where it was in due course. A partnership that's just about to start is Milton Park. So traditionally Milton Park had partnered with an operator that was based in Berkshire actually. So we've managed to persuade them after at least 8 years of trying that they should partner with us. And I'm pleased to say that from January we have now got that partnership. So we'll be starting more services from both within the Didcot area and enhanced services out to the city centre and the John Radcliffe. And with these fantastic new buses, one of which is in the picture here. So we'll be providing a shuttle every 8 minutes as well between Didcot Parkway and the park. So whilst we're replacing the previous dedicated shuttle, we will still have some of our buses in Milton Park's new livery, which is to be revealed. It's got a new brand, and we'll manage the sales and distribution of all the tickets, and employees will be able to buy through the online portal that I mentioned earlier on. So that's an exciting new partnership for early in 2021. So anyone that wants to find out more, we do have our dedicated key team here in Oxford, and there's the email address for Mr. Morrison, andrew.morrison@oxfordbus.co.uk. and hopefully we'll be able to help anyone that wishes to have assistance with their transport, whatever it be, whether it be a conference, whether it be getting people from A to B, post-COVID, or whatever it is. We would welcome the discussion. And that's all I really wanted to say today. Happy to take any questions. I think you're on mute. I can get my own back now, Richard. I think you're on mute.
I just did that so you could get your own back. No, good. Brilliant, Phil. Very comprehensive. Anybody got any questions for Phil?
Phil, can I ask something? Thanks very much. Great presentation. Where are the major places in the city that cause congestion for buses? Where are the sort of key choke points that cause you to have the delays you're talking about?
Well, obviously the Westgate car park has been a challenge. So the queues back from that towards Friedwide Square and the Avenue Road is a bottleneck. St Clement's is also a bottleneck. They're the main two, I think. Obviously, getting through the city centre is fairly straightforward because it's a priority that we get. But also getting around the orbital routes is becoming more problematic. So places like Holloway, all of that really, Bob.
Yeah.
But no, it's mainly the areas on the edge of the city centre that present us with the worst bottlenecks. But of course, it's the knock-on effect of that then. So as soon as Friedwide clogs up, the Botley Road is absolutely proper. But yeah, I mean, you may have heard that from now, the county council is taking a much firmer view on the Westgate car park. So it's now closed it, basically.
They've made the park and rides free, haven't they? And trying to encourage them to use those. Yeah.
So if we can crack the Westgate car park, that's a start. But that's only typically at the weekend and on the lead up to Christmas, as it is now.
Yeah.
But no, it's the day in, day out stuff really that we need to crack, which is St Clement's. It is the Botley Road, but it's pretty much all the radial routes into the city and the orbital ones. I mean, the whole pick me up demand responsive bus showed that the average speed we could achieve was 9 miles an hour. So that's really low.
Yeah. And the other question I was going to ask really relates to the Science Connector, the STFC and University of Oxford. Where are the passengers that you're picking up are paying fares rather than the science people going to? Are they people going to Steventon, or what's the sort of passenger?
No, it's I mean, then when we started this service back in the summer of 2019, I think because the previous operator had only really picked up in Oxford city centre, there was a lot of nervousness around, well, all the people from East Oxford have to travel into the city centre to get on to the service. So we said, well, why don't we operate the service out of Oxford via the Iffley Road, and it will pick up people then who could walk through from the Cowley Road and people who actually live on the Iffley Road, and they can get the bus direct. And there was a bit of nervousness around that because you're always having to strike a balance between the service operating express, non-stop, but then putting stops in where people actually live so they can get on the bus. So we had to put more stops, or we suggested putting more stops in, but not too many, because otherwise it would have slowed the service down. And I'm pleased to say that loads of people from East Oxford now get on the bus and pay fares on the Iffley Road. So those stops have been very popular indeed, and we did actually have some timekeeping issues to start with. And they are travelling to Harwell because it's one of those services that with flow, it's sort of against the traffic generally, because people are travelling down to Harwell in the morning, coming back in the evening. But then when you're coming back and do the return journey, you are picking people up. It is a small number of people, but you are picking them up at Milton Gate, where people are coming down from Steventon. But no, the most people who are paying the fares are people travelling to and from Harwell, with the flow of traffic into and out of Harwell.
Yeah, great. It's a great service.
Yeah, everyone's thumbs up on it, and everyone that uses it loves it. Yes.
It's just getting the awareness, isn't it, Phil? Which is, I mean, the comment that you made, which sort of struck home to me, was that it sort of took 8 years for you to strike that partnership with MEPC, and that sort of illustrates the sort of the challenge that you have trying to get services up and running.
The real challenge is people. When you start talking to people, they want the service to be a private service just for them. Where the savings come is the more demand you can pull together, but still deliver a high quality of service that meets people's requirements, you're basically sharing the problem, and therefore it becomes cheaper for you if you can encourage people to get on it, running it as a local bus service rather than a closed door private service. And Oxford's got a real problem with this, which is what demand responsive pick me up service was which was designed to try and overcome as well. But unfortunately, that pilot didn't run for long enough. It was making progress, but it is about working with businesses to pool their problems, to come up with creative transport solutions, and that's what we're doing with Science Transit Shuttle, and we've just started to do with the Milton Palace Shuttle as well.
I think I asked you this recently, and you said that, I mean, in terms of what you're doing in this country, you're fairly ahead of the game in terms of these sorts of partnerships. But is there anywhere else in the world where you look to and go, well, they've actually really got it sorted? They've got a really great model where everybody embraces what the local equivalent to yourselves are doing? No,
not really, because I think where we differ in this country is that we try and do a lot of things commercially. As a PLC, we try and take an element of commercial risk with the view that in the end, you're going to get the rewards. Whereas abroad, they tend to take the view that private business will do what it needs to do, the public sector will do what it needs to do. The partnership working isn't really established as well in the UK, and certainly in Oxford, we sort of led from the front on developing those partnerships, with the people that I outlined earlier on. Yes, there are strong partnerships elsewhere. Some of our sister companies in the group I work for have got partnerships with other universities and business parks and all of that. But the approach we take to business is yes, you have a contract, but really it's a partnership where you're working. But it's the spirit of the partnership that's important. It's not necessarily the letter of the contract, and that's why we're quite flexible on coming up with solutions that people want. And quite often when people come to us in the first instance, they're not 100% sure of exactly what they do want. Hence, you need a bit of an agile, dynamic.
Yeah.
And they're the best partnerships in our view.